Let's start this story with an introduction to the bullies who are about to get bullied. The first guy in front of us is Ju Yong Cheol. Then there's the leader of these goons, Park Kang-wook. These zesty bastards spend their days bullying weak students, extorting money from them, and repeating the cycle daily. Their current victim is a poor kid named Donggu, but that's about to change. Rumors have been spreading about a new transfer student who has been wiping the floor with every bully in the school. He just recently took down a few of the guys who were trying to steal food in the cafeteria. And as fate would have it, that very transfer student just walked in the classroom where these bastards are currently beating their first victim of the day. As for his introduction, his name is Doyle, and right now he's looking for the so-called boss of this school. He turns to the goon in front of him and asks if he's the boss. But instead of giving a straight answer, this shithead makes the mistake of running his mouth unnecessarily. And for that, he earns himself a slap so hard that his brain scrambles inside his skull, sending him crashing to the floor. The girls in the classroom are absolutely astonished. A guy with this much guts, this much presence? He's not just a Sigma. He embodies the ultimate Jigga-Chad attitude. Not to mention, he's goddamn handsome. The friend of the goon who just got knocked out jumps up, clearly not happy about Doyle making moves in their turf. Without a single shred of hesitation, he starts yapping nonstop, questioning Doyle's audacity, asking Doyle if he even knows who he's messing with. Well, Doyle admits he doesn't. After all, he just transferred today. The goon, realizing words aren't enough, tries to throw a punch, and that's a big mistake. Doyle catches the bastard's filthy hand midair and twists his fingers so hard that he lets out a blood-curdling scream, as if someone just boned him from behind. While calmly continuing to twist his fingers, Doyle repeats the question, "Are you the boss?" The goon, unable to endure the excruciating pain any longer, quickly points to his leader, Park Kang-wook. Of course, Kang-wook is not too thrilled that his own underling just threw him under the bus. But before he can react, Doyle delivers another slap so hard that the goon is down for good. With the path now cleared, Doyle walks up to Park Kang-wook and asks the same question, "Are you the school boss here?" Not surprisingly, Kang-wook makes the same mistake his lackeys did, running his mouth unnecessarily. So Doyle gives him a well-deserved punch right across the face, making him stagger backward. Instead of taking the hint, this unfortunate bastard decides to fight back and throws a punch of his own. And oh boy, the way Doyle dodges that punch is so cool. Now it's Doyle's turn to show what he's got. His fist connects perfectly with Kang-wook's face. The second one also doesn't miss its mark. And to finish things off, he delivers a brutal kick that sends the bastard flying straight into the window, leaving his face a bloody mess. The students watching are absolutely stunned. Kang-wook is left battered, bruised, and with an ego just as broken as his face. With the job done, Doyle makes his exit with the same ferocity he came in with. Donggu, still barely able to process what just happened, takes a shaky breath. He never expected to witness something like this. Meanwhile, the TikToker girl in the back is totally smitten. All she can think about is getting clapped by this guy later. Later, Donggu meets Doyle and makes a request to wipe out all the bullies in the school, just like he did in the classroom. But Doyle is not taking the job without the necessary compensation. You see, it hasn't been long since he came to Korea, and he is broke as hell. If Donggu wants to use his strength, it ain't free. Donggu argues that this is a righteous cause, that strong people should protect the weak. That's just how things should be. Well, Doyle doesn't buy into that shit, nor does he have time to argue about it. His demand is simple: no money, no work. But Donggu is desperate and tries to plead one last time. He and his friends are living a life of misery. Not a single day goes by without them getting beaten. The worst part is that if they report anything to the teachers, they just get bullied even more. For Donggu, every day feels like wandering in endless darkness with no light or hope. But that was until yesterday. Seeing Doyle take out those bullies like they were nothing was the first spark of hope he'd seen in years. So he begs him desperately. But Doyle remains unmoved. He gets where Donggu is coming from. But he makes one thing clear: a man needs money to survive, and besides, he's already got his own fair share of problems to deal with. Hearing how Doyle is talking about money, Donggu remembers all the bullies who used to beat him to a pulp just to get cash out of him. So, bro finally explodes out in frustration, fed up with people messing with him just for money. Seems like Doyle has no choice but to explain his circumstances. You see, Doyle's father is the head of the world's top killer organization, known as Blackhead, and Doyle was born and raised there. But some time ago, his parents got divorced because his father was a toxic bastard who wandered down the path of misogyny and always made his mother cry. So, with no other choice, he and his younger sibling went to Korea with their mom without asking their father's permission. Of course, this made their father very angry. In revenge, he blocked all their accounts, leaving them with no money. Doyle had planned to live in the tallest building in Korea, but those dreams vanished because he had no funds. With that in mind, he walks away. Today is his interview at Burger King, and he doesn't want to ruin this chance. As he says this, the TikTok girl, who has fallen for Doyle, is secretly listening from the sidelines. Donggu isn't sure if he should believe all this, but on the other hand, Doyle doesn't seem like someone who makes silly jokes. Regardless, Donggu offers him 50,000 yuan for each person he defeats. The offer is enough to make Doyle stop. Donggu wonders if he offered too little and if he should have given more. But unexpectedly, Doyle accepts the job right away. Meanwhile, the TikTok girl is still staring at Doyle like a fan. Later, we see a group of thugs hanging out under a gazebo. They've heard the rumor that Park Kang-wook was beaten up by a transfer student. This chubby guy is surprised that one transfer student could beat Kang-wook and his two helpers all alone. This chubby guy's name is Park Jae-hyung, judo club captain. Park Kang-wook was a good helper who took money from others and paid it to Jae-hyung. But now, Jae-hyung worries that he won't be able to eat as much pizza because their money source has been cut off. Another chubby guy, Park Jae-dong, vice captain of the judo club, shares the same concerns. They're planning to take down the transfer student who seems to be interfering. But it looks like they don't need to search for Doyle because he has walked right into their area for a fight. Donggu is hiding under a BoJack Horseman mask. Before Doyle fights, Donggu tells him how dangerous these guys are. Kang-wook was just a helper, but these guys are the real leaders. They're known as the big bosses of Simon High School. The judo twins, Park Jae-hyung and Park Jae-dong, are trying to become national athletes. So they keep their records clean and use Kang-wook for their dirty work. Kang-wook earns the money by bullying others, and if he doesn't bring in enough, they beat him up. But these introductions are unnecessary for Doyle. All he wants to know is if these guys are his targets. We also see that the TikTok girl, who is obsessed with Doyle, is hanging around with the judo twins and still seems to be watching the clip she recorded of him over and over. Her name is Sealmina, by the way. She's clearly still obsessed, thinking about him. You can see this by how fixated she is on her phone. Jae-dong is curious about why she's so invested in it. Whatever she's seeing, he wants to see too, but the lady flatly refuses. At the same time, we see Doyle coming in like a wrecking ball. He lands a solid knee smash right on Jae-dong's face. The impact is brutal, and that fatso is literally knocked out cold with a single hit. The other fatty quickly lunges at Doyle, but he remains calm and composed, as if he's not scared at all. His nonchalant attitude throws the fatty off for a moment. He wonders if Doyle has backup to give him this much calm. But before the fatty can process anything, he's rocked by a punch so hard that his bloody nose splatters like a messed up tomato. But things are about to get even more brutal for this poor fatty. Doyle swings his leg with lightning speed, aiming straight for the fatty's small balls. That ungodly strike is so overwhelming that it literally cracks the fatty's nuts. The explosion of pain is so intense that the bastard's soul momentarily leaves his body because the pain is just too unbearable. With that final punch to the head, Doyle seals the deal on the spot. Mina, on the other hand, is practically wetting herself watching this Sigma Doyle smash all these bastards. And once again, she can barely hold her urge to get herself clapped. With the two guys down, Doyle earns 50,000 yuan for each person. The next day, not only did Doyle rack up some money, but his Riz and aura also earned him the title of the strongest man alive at Simon High School. Brochures about the recent exploits of our hero are being distributed, which is more of a clear threat to all the bullies at the school. Whoever dares to go against the new king of fighters will face their doom. Doyle is currently being escorted by Donggu and his friends around like the king he is, all to expand his influence and attract as many eyeballs as they can. Doyle has no objections to what Donggu is trying to pull. So long as he's getting paid, he's fine. And for the record, Doyle wants to charge extra for this parade. As he's counting the money he's earned by taking down the bastards, he notices that the money he received isn't the full amount he was promised. He's sure he took care of 4 people, including the 2 judo pigs and their henchmen. He wonders if those other 2 guys don't count. Donggu clarifies that he only requested the elimination of the judo twins, namely Jae-hyung and Jae-dong. But Doyle isn't ready to hear any crap and demands Donggu cough up another 100,000 yuan. After all, Donggu is from a rich family, so even 200,000 yuan is just pocket change for him. Donggu suddenly stops. "How did you know about my family background?" he asks Doyle. Donggu understands that Doyle only approached him because he knew his family was rich. We cut to the past. A few of Donggu's friends mention how rich his family is. Doyle simply states, "The entire school knows how rich your family is. Not to mention, you approached me first." With that said, Doyle demands the 100,000 yuan Donggu owes him. "And this amount does not include the charges for the parade," he adds. With no other option, Donggu happily flashes an OK sign. We then cut to Mina, who is staring at the brochure once again. She can't help but admire Donggu's beauty. Her friend also admits that transfer student is indeed handsome. It's no wonder why every girl in the school is staring at his picture in the brochure. Hearing this, Mina gets annoyed and enraged. To her, it feels like all the other girls are staring at her husband, and she just can't stand it. She quickly snatches the image of Donggu out of one girl's hands and threatens her. "If you ever dare lay your filthy gaze on my man." One by one, Mina collects all of the brochures the other girls in the classroom had. As she finishes swiping all of the brochures, she suddenly notices that one of her friends, Jang Hyunwoo, wants to see her later under a shady bridge. We meet a blonde guy named Jang Hyunwoo from Chill High School. This is actually the next target Doyle is supposed to take down. Hyunwoo is hailed as the king of Southern Seoul. Then there's another guy from Iljeong High School, and he is Pai Jichul's subordinate. As an executive member of 12 Nations, he is undoubtedly powerful. Doyle wants more details regarding this 12 nations that Donggu speaks of, but Donggu reminds him this is a topic for another day. Currently, our main focus is Jang Hyunwoo, because this opponent is someone we can't afford to underestimate. After all, this guy had the liberty of becoming the champion of a mature boxing tournament, not just once but thrice. With physique and instincts far beyond an ordinary person, even the judo twins who fought this bastard together didn't stand a chance against him. Furthermore, the scariest thing about Jang Hyunwoo is the fact that he is cruel by nature. In simpler words, if this guy sets his sights on someone, he makes sure to harass and push his opponent to their absolute limit. He is so cruel that people would rather die than be humiliated at his hands. And once he snaps, there's no telling what he might do. To exercise precaution, Donggu decides to watch the fight unfold from the sidelines. And if things escalate, he will make sure to report it to the police immediately. But before this jackass can finish yapping, Doyle is already out and about, ready to beat those guys up. We then cut back to Hyunwoo himself, and Mina is also there in his company. Hyunwoo has just finished beating the hell out of her male friends because she didn't pick up his call on time. But Mina doesn't give a damn about these guys and refuses to even consider them her friends. The poor boys who took a serious beating because of her can only curse her under their breath. Now, back to the main reason she was summoned here. Hyunwoo wants her to go on a date with him. He even promises to give her the best time of her life while they're together. But it looks like his dating plans have to be put on hold because a glass bottle is heading straight at him, courtesy of Doyle. Hyunwoo simply ducks down and saves himself, while Doyle sighs in disappointment since he missed the mark. Now he has to fight this bastard, which is such a drag. Mina begins blushing at the sight of Doyle once again, while Hyunwoo is absolutely furious and demands to know who the hell this bastard is. Mina, meanwhile, starts getting the wrong idea that this guy came to save her. By now, even Doyle notices this crazy lady always showing up wherever he goes, and calling it just a coincidence would be a long shot. The only thought that crosses his mind is that she must be observing his movements, not to mention she is always staring at him with weird gazes. So he finally addresses her, grabs her by the face, and makes his threat clear. While he doesn't know who the hell she is, if she's here to pull some shit on him, she'll end up as good as dead. But this crazy lady is more than ready to be strangled and killed by the hands of our boy. She straight up give him the green light to do it. Let's not forget about Hyunwoo, who is absolutely furious to see our boy laying a hand on the woman he loves. In a fit of rage, he balls up his fist and charges at Doyle with godly speed. The punch he's about to land is his signature move. His speed is so fast that even Donggu, just watching from a distance, is losing his mind. But Hyunwoo's momentum is quickly broken by spit. Someone just spat at him. While he manages to safeguard his face from getting splattered by that nasty liquid, he isn't so lucky when Doyle swings his leg and delivers a precisely aimed kick right in his gut. The impact is brutal, leaving Hyunwoo gasping for air as he is dazed and disoriented from the kick. Doyle decides to deliver another hit. This time he intends to splatter the bastard's head with a stool he has in his hand. Poor bastard has no time to dodge the oncoming attack. First it was spit, and now Doyle literally pulled that stool out of nowhere. But it looks like the stool was just a mere distraction. Doyle only uses it as cover before delivering a devastating uppercut. Not only is it painful, but it's also humiliating. Hyun-woo is seriously losing it at this point in blind fury. He swings a punch with lightning speed, but the punch just zips past as Doyle leans back slightly, dodging it with ease. Though the punch was sharp and precise, it was so fast that it literally blew away a few strands of Doyle's hair. Doyle remains unshaken. Without a moment's delay, he balls up his fist and throws a punch straight into Hyun-woo's gut. That gut punch is so overwhelming that Hyun-woo immediately senses his ribs cracking. But Doyle assures him that his ribs aren't broken yet. The real damage comes when he slams a stool directly into Hyun-woo's ribs, and this time it literally does. Bro's ribs crack, and his breath gets stuck in his lungs. The once mighty fighter, considered the king of this joint, is now nothing more than a beaten-up piñata. His goons just stand there, frozen, having no clue what the hell just happened. The dude who is getting bullied is also in absolute awe. Hyun-woo, on the other hand, is struggling to breathe. Now that Doyle is done teaching this bastard a lesson with his fists, there's only one thing left to say. But he forgets what he was supposed to say. Donga had told him to deliver a warning to bullies, telling them not to mess with the innocent or face consequences. Since Doyle can't remember the exact line, he decides to say something even more colorful, something far more threatening and scary. Doyle makes his threat crystal clear. If this bastard ever dares to mess around instead of living quietly, or if he acts up and ends up standing before him again, Doyle swears to God he will tear apart everything this bastard loves. And after ripping them limb from limb, he will make sure to kill every single one of them. While Donggu is losing his mind over the deadly threat Doyle just issued, Mina, on the other hand, is absolutely going bonkers with love, hormones firing in her head. She's losing it. All she wants in life is to ride him. The next day arrives, and in a private gym, another group of bullies is working out while mercilessly beating their victim. Suddenly, a guy rushes in with urgent news that one of their underlings, Hunghwa, got his ass hooped by someone from Simon High School. The guys in the gym aren't thrilled to hear this. After all, Simon High School is at the bottom of the hierarchy. It's hard to believe those bottom feeders are trying to rebel against their seniors. Among them is Jongbyum from Iljeong High School, which is ranked 4th. The next day, Jongbyum gathers his underlings from Simon High, ready to beat down the gang responsible for hospitalizing Hyun-woo. However, he notices that their numbers are unusually low and demand an explanation. Kang-wook explains that a few of their guys got hospitalized while trying to steal food in the cafeteria. But Jangbyum isn't interested in small fries. He wants to know about the twin judo piglets. Once again, Kang-wook delivers bad news. Their balls exploded, and they're also in the hospital. Jongbyum is absolutely livid and delivers a devastating punch straight to Kang-wook's gut. As far as Jongbyum is concerned, what this guy is reporting is nothing more than shit, and he's not in the mood for stupid jokes. But the poor guy insists it's the truth. It's no surprise that Jongbyum doesn't know the full story, as it's been a while since he last checked in. However, his lackey's persistence only infuriates him more, and he prepares to slap the poor guy again. That's when Kang-wook finally blurts out that it was the transfer student who did all this. Every recent incident involving their gang members traces back to that one particular transfer student. Finally, Jongbyum's rage subsides, replaced with burning curiosity. Now, he's absolutely dying to meet this new bastard who has everyone on edge. Meanwhile, Mina, as usual, is watching a video she secretly recorded of Doyle eating in the cafeteria. In the video, he notices her recording and forcefully shuts the camera off. We then shift focus to the classroom where she's seated. The teacher is looking for potential candidates for the film club. As soon as the announcement is made, students frantically raise their hands, eager to join. The teacher is pleased by their enthusiasm, assuming the film club must be popular. However, Mina has quite the opposite reaction. She can't even fathom that the bookworms who usually bury their faces in textbooks are suddenly showing interest. She already envisions herself walking alongside the love of her life. The film club is held in high regard among all activity clubs, and she refuses to let any other girl take the spotlight. Meanwhile, somewhere in the school, Doyle is also thinking about Mina. He's curious about why she's always stalking him and wants to figure out what her deal is. The only information Donggu has is that she was born in Shinlimdong. Since Doyle has never seen her before in his past, he begins to suspect that she might be a spy sent by his father. Donggu changes the subject and asks which club Doyle plans to join. In response, Doyle expresses interest in the anime club. Of course, this makes zero sense to Donggu. The anime club is a holy haven for otakus, yet Doyle is the complete opposite of a typical otaku who does nothing but. That's when Jong Beom shows up, accompanied by his lackey. Seeing our boy in the distance, Kang Wook confirms Doyle's identity as the transfer student responsible for busting the judo twins' balls. Jong Beom grows increasingly annoyed. His dumbass lackey keeps mentioning balls. It sounds creepy. Nonetheless, Jong Beom refocuses on Doyle. He steps forward, his entourage following closely behind. While Donggu is still rambling about anime club activities, Doyle suddenly spots the goons. Without a moment's delay, he sprints toward them with the agility of a cheetah. Kang-wook starts cowering upon seeing Doyle charging straight at them. While Kang-wook knew this bastard was crazy, he didn't realize he was this crazy. Seeing the lamb running at them, Jong Beom quickly takes a stance, ready for battle. He takes the initiative and swings first, but his punch misses its mark. He tries again, yet Doyle effortlessly dodges with slick ninja moves, zipping past Jang Beom entirely. Why did this guy just ignore them and run past? The answer becomes clear when we see Mina in the distance. Doyle surprises her with his sudden appearance, causing her to panic. All the brochures she's holding go flying into the air as he pins her to the ground, landing on top of her. While this moment feels like a romantic encounter straight out of a drama to the nutcase lady, Doyle is strictly business. He begins his interrogation, demanding to know why she's stalking him and constantly taking photos of him. Furthermore, he wants to know if his father sent her to trail him. Of course, this love-struck lady completely misunderstands the situation, convinced that Doyle is planning to introduce her to his family. Meanwhile, let's not forget about Jang Beom, who looks absolutely infuriated after being ignored like this. The guy dashes toward Doyle, attempting to smash his head in. But our boy is quick. In a split second, he grabs the bastard's leg and pushes it away. It seems like Jang Beom has finally managed to get Doyle's attention, and that is not a good sign. The thug swings a punch, but Doyle ducks and avoids it effortlessly. Jang Beom refuses to relent. One blow after another, he continues his barrage of attacks. Despite his efforts, not a single one manages to connect. Doyle, on the other hand, decides it's time to retaliate with a punch of his own. But fate has other plans. Just as he is about to strike, the student head of Simon High School intervenes, stopping the fight. His name is Wang Dukial, and he commands them to knock it off. Jong Beom is far from thrilled to see this boomer crashing the party. Nonetheless, he lights a cigarette, but not before throwing one final threat at Doyle, warning him of the consequences that await him tomorrow. With that, he takes his leave with his lackeys. Then, Doyle does something unthinkable, something no one saw coming. He literally smashes Jong Beom over the head and the front of the student head. That single hit is enough to knock the poor guy out cold on the sidelines. Kang Wook begins sweating bullets, convinced that Doyle has just dug his own grave by attacking Jong Beom. Even Donggu, who had literally been paying Doyle to do this job, is left in complete awe. As far as he's concerned, Doyle hasn't even faced a mid-level boss yet, and now he's gone and attracted the attention of the real boss. We then cut to a shady apartment, where a tattooed guy is torturing the hell out of his victims. His torment session is suddenly interrupted when his phone rings, with news about Jang Beom getting his ass hooped. This guy is from Iljeong High School, and his name is John Chan. We finally learn about the infamous group known as the 12 Nations. They are 12 of the most feared delinquents in the country, notorious for their brutality. But to Doyle, the 12 Nations are nothing more than a bunch of thugs. He can't understand why people make such a big deal out of them. Right now, there's something worse than those 12 thugs, the punishment he's currently dealing with thanks to Wang Duqiu. He is stuck mopping bathrooms for an entire week. The teacher overseeing his punishment is secretly pleased with this turn of events, glad that this arrogant transfer student is getting a taste of discipline. Meanwhile, Donggu is trying his best to convince Doyle that the 12 Nations are not to be taken lightly. By laying his hands on Jung Beom, Doyle has just provoked them, and now Iljeong High School will be coming for him. Iljeong is ruthless. They don't sit quietly when the blood of one of their own is spilled. But Doyle isn't impressed. As far as he's concerned, no one is truly ruthless unless they've cut off an arm or a leg. Besides, those guys were the ones who came to him and started the fight. Still, he partially blames Donggu for putting him in this mess in the first place. After all, it was Donggu who wanted these bullies to be taken down. Now this whole situation is really starting to crawl under Doyle's skin. He's fed up with all this nonsense. So fed up, in fact, that he decides to quit altogether. He'd rather get a part-time job and earn some real money instead of dealing with this endless cycle of fights. Donggu is not happy about this decision. He reminds Doyle that he's being paid way more than any part-time job. Plus, there's even severance pay, which is a sweet cherry on top. But Doyle is unmoved. He tells Donggu to get lost. Left with no choice, Donggu eventually leaves. As he walks down the road, he recalls getting slapped by one of the bullies. At the time, Donggu had simply glared back at the bastard, and when the bully realized that Donggu was now affiliated with Doyle, he had quickly started sweating and tried to reconcile. Now, Donggu feels like his short-lived days of happiness have come to an end. He will have to return to the hellish life he's known all these years. He remembers the brief moments of joy, being able to spend time with his friends, doing whatever he wanted. No one was there to boss him around, extort money from him, or beat him unnecessarily. But now, it seems he has no choice but to embrace that hell once again. As he walks, a mysterious dude suddenly appears, slinging an arm around his shoulder as if they're best friends. Donggu has no idea who this guy is, but the stranger clearly knows him. He recognizes Donggu as the rumored friend of Doyle. By now, Donggu knows that things are about to take a very bad turn for him. Later, that same guy drags Donggu to Jongbyum, who immediately begins interrogating him about Doyle's whereabouts. Of course, Donggu insists that he doesn't know anything. His response only pisses Jongbyum off. So, without a second thought, he delivers a brutal kick straight to Donggu's face, causing his nose to burst with blood and sending his glasses flying. Jongbyum only demands that he make a simple phone call and summon that bastard there. Quivering, Donggu quickly dials a number, but instead of Doyle, he dials the helpline number. The guy in the red jacket notices this and immediately threatens the life out of poor Donggu. Realizing what he's done, they resume beating him mercilessly, pummeling him until he has no choice but to endure it like a faithful, obedient dog. Meanwhile, we cut to Doyle, who is casually attending a job interview at Burger King for a part-time position, all while his former employer is getting the beating of his life. The interviewer asks Doyle about his hobbies or any special skills he possesses. While Doyle does not have any experience in part-time jobs, he states that he knows close combat and how to throw daggers. However, the interviewer mishears him and asks why he would throw swagger. Doyle bluntly clarifies that he meant throwing daggers. Hearing this, the interviewer is now convinced that Doyle is a nutcase, even though he seemed perfectly normal at first glance. Nevertheless, the interviewer acknowledges that Doyle's skill is certainly an interesting one, but unfortunately, they have no use for someone who can throw daggers. He expresses doubt about whether Doyle would be a good fit for any position in the restaurant. Just then, two jack guys enter the restaurant. One of them is clutching his belly out of pain. He is sad that the burger he ate from this place caused his stomach to get upset. He even shows a photo of some random burger, claiming it belongs to this restaurant. The picture clearly shows a cockroach inside the burger, which is clear proof that the food is toxic. Hearing this, the other customers who have been peacefully enjoying their meals begin to check their own food to see if the claim is true. But it turns out to be nothing more than a harmless olive. The shop owner tries to calm the raging man down, maintaining his politeness to avoid any unnecessary trouble. However, the man refuses to listen and continues ranting about how the trash burger destroyed his stomach. At that moment, Doyle casually walks past the man, discreetly bumping his shoulder against him. The furious man shoots him a deadly glare, but Doyle remains completely unbothered. Meanwhile, we cut back to the group interrogating Donggu. They check his phone and quickly realize that Donggu doesn't even have Doyle's number, clear proof that they aren't friends. Jongbyum, frustrated by the lack of progress in tracking down Doyle, can't help but feel annoyed. He had been waiting outside the school's main gate all this time, yet somehow they failed to notice Doyle. Annoyed, Jongbyum turns his attention back to Donggu. After delivering one final kick, he walks away with his thugs. We then shift to Iljeong High School's bullies and their leader, Im Jong-chan. Standing beside him is his fellow schoolmate, Choi Hye-chang. They're talking about the two friends who went to grab some food for everyone from Burger King, but they do not seem to have returned. So they decide to check on them. Now that they are passing by Burger King, it is then that, unbeknownst to them, Doyle crosses paths with them. But since they do not recognize Doyle by face, they simply walk past. Once they enter the restaurant, they see their two friends who went to fetch food are now sprawled on the ground after getting beaten up like piñatas. Of course, Jong-chan is not thrilled to see his lackeys down for the count. He quickly scans the room to find the guy who could have done this, but unsurprisingly, the culprit does not seem to be here. This is when Jong-chan remembers one guy he crossed paths with outside Burger King, and his shoulder had stains of blood. So he quickly orders his lackeys to catch that punk who just passed them, the one wearing a Simon High uniform. To emphasize the urgency, he bellows this order at the top of his lungs. We then cut to Doyle, who is casually walking down the street, thinking about how he has just used up all the money he had for the month. Even if he gets a part-time job, he will not get paid until next month. So he needs someone who can pay him upfront. And when it comes to upfront payment, only one guy comes to mind. Donggu, who, as fate would have it, is standing right in front of him. It looks like Donggu had been intentionally walking toward Burger King to check on Doyle, and he is relieved to see him safe and sound. Before Doyle can ask about Donggu's injuries, those bastards arrive. The fatty introduces himself as Choi Hyachang from Iljeong High and demands Doyle listen. He yells, ordering Doyle to come over before things escalate. Doyle asks Donggu to confirm if the 50,000 yuan per person offer is still on the table. Donggu smiles, but clarifies there will be no severance pay. The fatty grows impatient, annoyed that Doyle ignores him. He lunges at Doyle, only to be slam-dunked onto the ground. The impact is brutal as Doyle throws punch after punch into the fatty's face. The fatty's friends feel a chill, while Doyle remains cool. He tells Donggu to pay a performance bonus for this display. After dealing with those guys, Doyle and Donggu eat noodles. Doyle reminds Donggu about the performance bonus. He boldly demands 5 million yuan, promising to destroy Iljeong High within a week. Donggu laughs, as if Doyle told a joke. Donggu asks why he wants so much money. Doyle repeats the story about his father freezing their accounts, which Donggu still finds unbelievable. Doyle asks why Donggu lives such a miserable life. After all, he comes from a rich family and has everything, so why does he always get beat up? Doyle knows Donggu's family is wealthy. He asks why Donggu doesn't transfer to a private school without bullies. He asks why Donggu's parents would worry when they see him injured. Donggu reveals they are out of the country. Doyle packs up takeout food and leaves. After saying goodbye, Doyle is on his way. He encounters Mina. We then see Jong-chan staring at his beaten-up lackey. He is furious and calls Kangwook. Kangwook is on the toilet when the phone rings, startling him. We learn about Iljeong High, one of the worst schools in Seoul. They control the southwest region of Seoul. Some students enroll due to financial issues, but most of them have juvenile criminal records, or they're just complete nutcases who cannot enroll in regular schools. This is why it's called the worst school ever. It is so bad that students can be seen smoking inside. In fact, the school even has a designated smoking area where all the students gather to blow off steam. As for the teachers, they are completely under the control of the students. They accept bribes and turn a blind eye to all the illegal activities happening within the school grounds. There are even rumors that the principal himself is a former gangster. However, the biggest problem at Iljeong High is a guy named Pai Jikyol, one of the members of the 12 Nations. For the longest time, Iljeong High was fractured into multiple factions, but Jikyol united them all through sheer strength. Nowadays, he oversees operations such as bike thefts, insurance fraud, extortion, threats against restaurants, and even more heinous crimes involving murders. We learned all of this as we stood right outside Iljeong High because Doyle is about to raid the place. He's literally armed with a rifle. The ever-goofy Donggu is once again rocking his LGTV donkey mask. More than a flashy mask, Donggu is more concerned about the massive gun Doyle is holding. Doyle assures him that it's only loaded with rubber bullets. After all, human bodies are an expendable resource. The more you preserve them, the better. As they move forward, Donggu once again tries to convince Doyle to reconsider before it's too late. Reports of violence at Iljeong High are so frequent that if someone were to call the police, they'd just laugh it off. But rather than deter Doyle, this fact actually makes him relieved. It works in our favor, but Doyle's unsettling relief only makes Donggu even more worried. Soon, they stumble across two students. Doyle immediately asks, "Is either of you Jikyol?" But instead of giving a simple answer, the bastards start acting aggressive. And as one might expect, Doyle has no patience for unnecessary yapping. Without hesitation, he shoots one of them in the face with a rubber bullet. The other student, standing beside his injured friend, rushes in to throw a punch. But Doyle effortlessly takes care of him with a well-placed kick. As if that wasn't enough, he then shoots the bastard in the foot before using the gun itself as a melee weapon, slamming it down on the guy's shoulder, which shatters the collarbone. The poor shithead can do nothing but groan on the ground while Doyle looms over him like a goddamn reaper. Bring Jikial here as soon as possible. Meanwhile, we cut to Jang Biam. He is still nursing his sore neck from the hit Doyle inflicted earlier. Right now, he's performing his usual duty, collecting ransom money from students. Suddenly, his red jacket friend comes rushing in, panting heavily. He reports that the bastard from Simon High is here. This piques Jang Biam's curiosity right away because he was just thinking about him. Elsewhere, Kang-wook can be seen battered and bruised. He's getting grilled by Jong Chan. Before Jong Chan can rough him up further, he receives a phone call from one of his lackeys. They report a spy roaming their turf with a gun in hand. As usual, Jong Chan yells at the top of his lungs, demanding clarification on who this so-called spy is. Kang-wook, on the other hand, feels utterly hopeless. He has no idea how any of this involves him or why he's even getting beaten up. Back to Doyle. He continues cutting down every shithead who dares to stand in his way. Eventually, they come across two female students and question them. Do either of them happen to be Pai Jikial? Unsurprisingly, the girls deny any connection to him. After all, Pai Jikial is a guy, not a girl. Doyle, however, blames Donggu for not mentioning this earlier. This is when Doyle finally notices something, or rather, someone worthwhile. It's of course Jang Biam. Doyle finds it somewhat admirable that Jang Biam had the balls to walk straight into the Tigers' Denver. However, these so-called tigers begin to flinch and recoil in fear when Doyle places his hand over the trigger. But they're in luck because Doyle is already out of bullets. Feeling mocked and humiliated once again, Jang Biam charges at Doyle in a fit of rage, aiming to land a hit. But his aggressive swing amounts to nothing. In that moment, he notices Doyle reaching inside his coat, perhaps to pull out another weapon. But it turned out to be just a distraction. The next thing he knows, he's doubled over in pain, having taken a brutal knee smash right to his gut. Meanwhile, in the annex building of Iljeong High, a few teachers take notice of the dozens of beaten-up students lying on the ground. One of the newer teachers, visibly horrified, suggests calling the police. But the senior teacher beside her dismisses the idea, since this is just a normal day at Iljeong High. Even if they reported it, the police wouldn't respond. Not to mention, the principal has given clear instructions to the staff to stay out of student affairs because getting involved only makes things worse. That said, even this veteran teacher admits that today's situation is unprecedented. He's never seen anything like this before, not since the Pai Jikial incident. Adding to the mystery, the school's CCTV cameras are down, and even the phone signals are jammed. Something bizarre is happening, and he has yet to figure out why. We then cut to a jacked dude effortlessly bench pressing 200 kilos. A group of his lackeys watches in awe. After chugging down a protein shake, he finally acknowledges the lackey standing in front of him. He asks them, "Why are you here?" One of them quickly delivers the message from the higher-ups. All executives are to report to the school immediately because a spy has infiltrated their turf. As for this hulking figure, he is parked in Jinju, peering into Jang Biam's past. The young prodigy was once praised by all of his coaches. He beat up everyone and was the meanest kid among the crew, defeating 6 guys all at once. One could even say the kid was blessed with God-given talent and a fighting ability that impressed just about everyone. He was the definition of talent. Jang Biam grew up to be a menace throughout his middle school life. Every person who ever tried to make themselves equal to him felt the crushing face of defeat when he humiliated them. Jang Biam had a distinct superiority complex and treated those weaker than him like worms. It's as if he was living in a world where he believed only the strongest would dictate the weakest. He took joy in torturing those that couldn't ever dare to stand up to him. Jang Biam's life had been like that all the way until he met a monster, Doyle. At his current level, Doyle easily dodged his punches and humiliated the fighter with his immense speed. Jang Biam has never been so pissed before. Giving in to his anger, he lunges forth for another strike, questioning how his punches are failing him right now. In response, his opponent gives him a reality check in the most embarrassing way possible. Doyle smacks his face with a broom, casually pointing out the difference in reach between the strikes. Fidgeting back on his feet, the arrogant Jang Biam wipes off his blood, and is in denial of the reality taking place before his very eyes. Frustrated, he goes for yet another strike from below, a sharp hook that his opponent ducks with precision, returning a powerful uppercut that knocks the living daylights out of the bald idiot. Doyle puts him asleep on the ground. Jong Byum's sandal flings away as he trips on his feet, adding to the humiliation. Doyle comes rushing with a speedy kick. Luckily, Jong Byum was able to dodge it, but he still can't fathom how his monstrous opponent appeared so quickly. This guy, a seemingly nobody who no one had even heard of, was casually beating the ever-living crap out of him. Doyle mercilessly went for a full swing of a soccer kick just now, instilling a deep, dark fear in Jong Byum's bones. The reason is simple. If that kick had connected with his jaw, it would have straight up killed him. Doyle commends his opponent's speed. He just attempted to cripple Jong Byum for life. Reminding the bald head of his words, Doyle emphasizes that no amount of pleading will save him from the beating he deserves. Seeing the scene unfold, Donggu is at a loss for words. Doyle thinks he should lessen the punishment, but what good will that do? This psychopath is in the mood to break his leg as a merciful retreat. Hearing those words, Jong Byum is once again reminded of his past, how he used to mercilessly look down on those weaker than him. In a poetic twist, the situation has flipped, and now he's the victim of his own philosophy. Enraged, he tries to whirl a powerful fist to strike down Doyle, an attack that he meticulously evades. Doyle dodges yet another strike, while the bloodlust Jong Byum continues to punch him. Our boy isn't worried. This is just too easy for him, as he casually throws not just one, but a fleet of strikes in his path. Jong Byum is utterly destroyed with a final, definitive strike from Doyle's wrathful lunge. The sight of his humiliation leaves his lackeys at a loss for words. They're speechless, seeing Jong Byum getting toyed with. Gargling on his own words pathetically on the ground, he stares at Doyle, who looks down on him with the most arrogant look on his face. He goes on to tell Jong Byum that this high school is nothing special. Unable to do anything on his own, the bald head turns to his lackeys, roaring at them for standing still. Jong Byum gives them an earful and orders each person to take down Doyle. But how could they, seeing as they witnessed one of the most brutal takedowns before their very own eyes? Sometime later, his senior, Jong Chan, is annoyed, walking through the school hall. The dean of the school tries to intervene and stop them from walking in as if they own the damn place. But these guys don't give a shit about him and merely turn away from his direction, deeming him unworthy of their attention. The dean calls them out for ignoring him, even going as far as to shout insults against the invading delinquents. Jong Chan was already pissed, and he's done playing around. He goes up to the old man, sticking out his wrist from his pocket as if he's about to pull something out. In a sudden motion, this man goes on to stab the dean with the full force of his weapon, causing the other students to freeze in error. Jong Chan intently reminds the dean that he won't get what he wants merely because he's a damn teacher. Now humbled and no longer in the mood to challenge them, the dean drops to the floor, blood trickling down his body. Young-chan spits at the man before turning his attention back to the clowns who are declining his call. He hands the weapon to one of his men, ordering him to take the blame for stabbing the dean. He's so ruthless that he's ready to sacrifice one of his own for his personal actions. Jong Chan orders the guy to retrieve everyone's phone and head to the police station to turn themselves in. This will lead to nearly 3 years worth of imprisonment, but Jong Chan doesn't care because he won't have to deal with the sentence. It'll just be one of his disposable lackeys. The ruthless delinquent walks away from the scene. The perspective shifts back to Doyle's side of things, who has finished crippling Jong Byum. Seeing the bald head laugh while being struck with so much pain, Doyle wonders if he should increase the torture so that Jong Byum laughs. This reminds Doyle just how badly he messed up by challenging their boss. Of course, the rest of Jong Byum's lackeys even confirm that the only outcome left for Doyle is imminent death, as he has struck the hornet's nest with nowhere to run to. He literally acts like it's just a regular Tuesday for him and goes on to ask about Pai Jikyol as their main leader. Out of nowhere, a kick comes flying in Doyle's face. The blow connects as Donggu cries for his friend. The one who struck him is actually Jinju, who is ranked 3rd among the gang. Donggu comprehends the sheer force of the blow, realizing that an attack like that must have done a number on someone like Doyle. Luckily, it is revealed that our boy is fast as shit, as his reflexes prevented him from getting hit in the head. Not caring about a single thing, Doyle muses if the man facing him is Pai Jikyol. Jinju, being the muscle-head egomaniac he is, idiotically confirms that he is in fact Pai Jikyol. Of course, even Donga knows that's just a stupid lie. The scene flips to Busan, where a bunch of bodies are hanging after senseless torture. Among them is a rank 4 boss, Kong Deokshin. The bastard who is responsible for having these men laid out like a bunch of mannequins comes to learn of Kim Doyle's identity, implying that shit is about to get even more real. Okay, let's get back into the fight between Jinju and LeBron James. The musclehead is surprised to find his opponent spraying at him with some water. He goes for a wide punch, thinking an attack like that will connect with Barry Allen over here. Doyle humiliates the shit out of him by slapping a piece of cloth like a freaking slingshot. That bitch slap leaves a mark too. Once again, the rest of the lackeys are just straight up confused. They don't even know what's going on anymore, as Doyle is beating the crap out of the bosses with a window washing set. He's an overwhelming muscle behemoth who shares records in competitive lifting. Jinju lunges forward to strike him again. Doyle casually evades the strike, which leaves a mark in the wall. Then, he dodges Jinju's kick, frustrating him as the battle rages on. What Jinju is really angry about is his opponent's wind-like reflexes. He is avoiding him like a mosquito. Jinju thinks that Doyle's endurance has to be shit, so only one attack should be enough to knock him down. But to his shock, Doyle flips the cloth and wraps it around his opponent's wrist, before delivering a beautiful, sharp knee to his face. Jinju staggers, realizing that his opponent is fighting dirty, making use of everything in his arsenal to get the upper hand. He tries to squeeze Doyle, but that fails too. They enter a funny moment of silence before Doyle shames this clown with his spray gun again, serving as the perfect distraction. Our boy reaps this man's soul with a jaw-crushing punch, swiping Jinju right off of his feet. With every hit, the musclehead is losing his cool. He no longer wants to fall victim to petty tricks. But just like the rest, he gets too overconfident and overextends. Doyle uses his jacket as a decoy, blinding his opponent's vision before excellently throwing an extended side kick to his face. And let me tell you, if someone humiliated me like that, I'd assist Elon Musk on his mission to get to Mars and evade our planet forever. The attack knocks Jinju down for good. In his brawny, little, pathetic state, he hurls insults at the tiny specimen who is making a mockery of him with every attack. But Doyle, this man, simply does not care. He comes up and whacks Jinju's body right where it hurts the most. The brutal beatdown continues as the sound of hits connecting against Jinju's body echo throughout the hall. This fight is over. Doyle casually slayed a muscle behemoth and mocks us with his side profile, acting like he just cleared the gang. Of course, the poor guy doesn't know he beat an imposter and not the real leader of the gang. He's got more work to do. Interestingly, the lower-level delinquents have no idea what Pai Jikyol looks like, so they also think he must have taken down their leader. Red Jacket over here knows the difference, though, and he's shocked that Doyle was able to demonstrate such a monstrous ability to ruin one of their strongest fighters. Doyle turns to Dongu, demanding his special fee. This time, My Little Pony over here has to remind him that he didn't take down the boss yet. Doyle argues otherwise and thinks that Dongu is messing around as they're walking away. Red Jacket is nerve-struck with the fear of what he witnessed. Let's go a few hours ahead and see Zhang Chan's reactions to the situation. I'm sure you guys must be dying to see that. After all, this psychopathic blonde has a mental breakdown seeing two of their top fighters laid out like that. The next day, at school, the students were discussing the dean's recent stabbing. Zhang Chan was said to be responsible. Hearing this attentively, Doyle munched on his food. He realized Zhang Chan wouldn't have acted so fiercely if he had taken down the real G.I. Cheol. This convinced him that Zhang Chan must have taken down a fake one instead. On another note, Dongu was surprised that Doyle was casually having lunch in the classroom instead of the cafeteria. Their little quarrel shifted into a different topic, with Dongu blaming himself for the harm caused to their school's dean. After all, he was the one who caused a fight with the Iljeong gang, using Doyle's strength. In any case, the students felt the need to visit the dean and check on his condition. Dongu was guilty about his actions, but he wanted Doyle to come. This man couldn't care less about the school's principal, but Dongu was a wimp and didn't want to go alone. Bringing her curvaceous body as a bargaining chip to convince Doyle, Mina geared up to join them. Dongu questioned why she was strolling around the anime club with a bunch of losers with an outfit like that. Turns out, she's just here for Doyle. This chick is unholy levels of down bad for our boy, and she just can't help herself. That's why she applied for the anime club. Funnily enough, Doyle straight up pulls a gun to her head. This man knows she's for the streets, but she's even freaky as hell and takes it as some kind of kink coming from him. The gun is actually real, and Doyle is more than happy to let his classmates inspect the weapon, as long as they're paying him good for it. Even Donggu is done with the ridiculousness of this manhwa and breaks the fourth wall just to share a shock. Fast forwarding to the scene of the hospital, the dean was told to rest for a while. Luckily, his injury wasn't that deep. Being the responsible headmaster, he just can't allow himself to rest when there's much to take care of at his school. He wanted them to know that he'll return back to the school in 1 week. Hearing that, his wife reminded him that he shouldn't just walk his injuries off because he clearly needs help. By the way, Donggu ended up coming with Mina to check on the principal. Unfortunately, the baddie only cares about Doyle, who didn't even end up joining them and jumped from the 3rd floor like he's Tom Cruise or something. Mina fed into her rage, stating that the hospital isn't worth it if the transfer student isn't here. Yeah, I'm convinced this girl is sick. 69 red flags in one person. Even Donggu thinks she's being ridiculous. He tells her to head home if she's here to goof around, but Mina has the gall to call him annoying for it. Donggu clutches the door handle when he hears the dean speaking to his wife. They talk of their hearty marriage, spanning 2 decades, which means she knows if he's in pain. As for our boy, he decided to come along. This reflected an encounter he shared with the dean. It was the time when he got in trouble and received a punishment. But when the dean realized that Doyle lived only with his mother and sister, he understood that the boy was the only man in his house. He let the kid off with his phone number, promising to help him in a time of need. It was that gesture that struck Doyle, because the dean wanted him to be normal and share an enthusiastic and energetic life in his young years. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really enjoying the way the story is handling the principal's character here. It's heartwarming. And here we are now. Doyle is in the hospital, though he's a bit bothered and wants to leave early. When he draws near the dean's room, he spots both Donggu and Mina waiting patiently inside. The dean is weeping like a child in pain. Since he's an adult, he naturally feels embarrassed for being so vulnerable and weak right now. His wife comforts him, while the dean goes on to state that he can't risk being embarrassed or showing a weak side of himself in front of his students. The sight of Zhang Chan just hurling those insulting words at him while he was powerless to stop the thug haunted him. Donggu, Mina, and Doyle are hearing this conversation with their fullest attention. This man was doing so much for the students, and all he got in return was a wound for it. The dean considers himself a failure, blinging his eyes out and hiding his face. The heartfelt moments end there, and the scene transitions into a horrifying sequence. Jikyol, the real one, is pissed that one little troublemaker was able to cause so much trouble before him. Zhang Chan trembles before him like a puppy, completely acknowledging that he deserves death for his failures. He just wants another chance to fix his wrongdoings, but Jikyol is done. He doesn't think Zhang Chan is serious about his word, because if he was, then he would have dragged Doyle's body here already. And now it's time for a gruesome punishment. Zhang Chan roars that he's ready to take any punishment, whatever his boss demands of him. Those words are music to Jikyol's ears, who tasks him with the impossible work of scoring 10 million a week. Zhang Chan is so terrified that he doesn't even comprehend the ridiculous task. He just accepts it like a direct order. As for Kim Doyle, who is being a thorn in their ways, Jikyol wants Zhang Chan to make up for his mistake and bring him over. In the final shot, we see the face of Jikyol, the Iljiang High boss, at the gaming arcade. Doyle is banging out shots like a professional. Mina is practically squirming, seeing him do anything. Donggu tells him his backstory of how he earned the title of dumbass from everyone who bullied him. It came to a point that Donggu just accepted things as they were and believed that he was nothing more than a clown. Doyle is killing it, while Mina is fangirling over him. Donggu's little rant ends up getting ignored by both of them. Mina is treating it like a date, but Doyle simply tells her to get lost. This man is not letting her have a piece of him. Recalling the dean's words, Donggu reminds them of how ridiculous it is to relax at a sensitive moment like this. He is reminded of the time he recruited Doyle to do his bidding, though it amounts to little now, seeing as he's just as much of a brute as the rest. Donggu checks out of the group, realizing that asking for Doyle's help is pointless since he's just going to charge him for the slightest of things. But right as he's about to leave, Doyle stops him, making him have the faintest hope that maybe this guy actually cares. In absolute hilariousness, the only thing Doyle points out is how he's snatching his lunchbox. Donggu throws a lousy temper tantrum, reminding Doyle that he's the one who paid for it. The scene ends there, and we transition back to the gang members active on the lookout for Doyle's apartment. Unfortunately, they can't seem to track him down, no matter how hard they try. No one knows about his exact address, making it tricky for Gang Hyuk to search for him. The poor guy is pitying his fate for always being handed the worst jobs right when he's got nothing to do with them. The fat bastard whirls a powerful fist into his stomach, launching him to the ground with a thud. The rain continues, and so does the beating. Fatty over here wants Gang Hyuk to hit up Doyle's friends to get a lead on his location. He continues to bash Gang Hyuk's head for being useless as a mutt. It's at this point that Gang Hyuk enters a state of contemplating, questioning what he did that was so wrong to deserve such a beatdown. Witnessing the scene unfold, the people around them stand in shock. Jonchan walks right past them, his underlings telling the crowd to buzz off and continue their walk. Gang Hyuk is given a heavy ultimatum. If he doesn't retrieve Doyle to this exact location in 60 minutes, then he won't be returning home in one piece. And yes, the One Piece is real. Rejoice, fans. Gang Hyuk questions the unfair reality put before him, his thoughts lingering, his eyes watering with tears. The people spectating aren't even doing anything to intervene. Not a single one is calling the police to help save his life. Among those present was Donggu. He was terrified to make eye contact with Gang Hyuk. The moment their eyes met, Donggu stuttered. Gang Hyuk called out his name, declaring him Doyle's subordinate, a slave. Donggu's face fell, knowing what was about to happen. And the worst had happened. The gang members beat Donggu. Yet, loyal to his friend, he refused to rat out Doyle's location. Jonchan was disgusted by the sight of a weakling putting up so much resistance. Wide-eyed and serious, Jonchan reminded Donggu of where they came from. With a blade in his hand, he attempted to intimidate the boy by reminding him of what he did to their dean. Suddenly, the memory of their beloved dean weeping flashed through his head. Jonchan told him that they only meant business with Doyle. As long as he could call him, they were good. Apart from that, the innocent victim could do nothing to save his life. In this position of helplessness, Donggu's memories went back to the time he was insulted by his father for being weak, just like his mother. Those same words were now reverberated by Jonchan, who promised to spare him as long as he called Doyle. Finally opening his mouth, Donggu declared that he's not an idiot. His words baffled the sub-leader of the gang. Donggu repeated himself, revealing that Jonchan's group were the true clowns. Hearing him say something so provocative, Gang Hyuk lost his mind even more. Jonchan let out a sinister laugh, as if it were the funniest joke he had ever heard. To make his point clear, he slashed Donggu across his nose, leaving a sharp cut that brought him so much agony. He screamed in pain. A moment afterwards, Jonchan grabbed his face coldly, reminding the kid of his position in this conflict. He thought of him as nothing more than a piece of garbage that needed to be flattened. Raising his hand in response, Donggu mustered the spirit to be courageous for once, to stop his meekness from getting the better of him. He grabbed Jonchan's arm, fueled by the anger and frustration of all the beatings he went through in his school. Jonchan wondered if this guy had gone deaf, or perhaps didn't understand Korean. To make sure he remembered the difference between the two of them, Jonchan slammed Donggu with a powerful punch, knocking him down. More time passed, though. At this point, Gang Hyuk is wondering where Donggu's sudden bravado is coming from. After all, his continued resistance will only bring about more suffering. And yet, he's unrelenting when it comes to sharing information about his friend. Jonchan ends up getting exhausted from the beatdown he's given to Donggu. Now that he's knocked out, they can't do anything to him. He doesn't care if they have to rip his mouth open when he wakes up. All he wants is information about Doyle. Intriguingly enough, it seems like Donggu is still alive and conscious. This guy probably has a death wish or something, because he definitely chose the wrong day to be brave. Addressing the ruthless gang boss, he calls Young a bastard. Reminded of all the pain they brought to his school, he deems them the wrongdoers and questions why it has to be the weaker people who have to be called idiots. Instead, the real perpetrators made a mess. They deserve punishment for it, not them. Gang Hyuk is out here pinching his face, knowing that this kid is about to get slaughtered if he keeps yapping any longer. He continues, stating that their lives would be perfect if the gang never existed to bring them turmoil. Pointing to Jonchan, he deems him the root of every mess, roaring that everyone in this messed-up gang is an idiot. His loud admission is acknowledged by Jonchan, who turns back with his blade out, pointing out Donggu's audacity for saying so much in the situation he's in. Bursting with full speed, he draws his weapon and pins Donggu face down, wondering if taking out Donggu's eyes would be enough to teach him a lesson. Gang Hyuk knows there's no coming back from this. While Zhang Chan mercilessly lunges forth to slash his eye, his attack comes to a sudden halt when Zhang Chan sees a shocking face pop up out of nowhere. Remember the gun that Doyle was proudly showing off? Turns out that it was just a fake gun that Dongu had brought him with a warning message inside. The point is, this man literally tried shooting Zhang Chan down without hesitation. The main man is here, and Fatty recognizes him immediately. While Zhang Chan is in a bloodlust state, like a predator ready to devour his prey, Doyle addresses Dongu and realizes why he switched their phones. Unfortunately, his phone screen ended up fully cracked, and Doyle identifies the freak show, Zhang Chan, as the culprit. He also sees his delicious lunchbox annihilated on the ground. Doyle identifies this situation as a critical one, not because his friend was about to get his eye poked, but because he lost his precious lunchbox. Thrilled to finally come face to face with the annoying pest who gave him so much trouble, Zhang Chan yaps and fails to notice Doyle, blitzing him with full speed. He's so fast that his punches feel like they just vaporize parts of Zhang Chan's body. Doyle stays calm, only wanting revenge for the lunchbox. The story briefly shifts to the Siam Dong Golden Karaoke Bar incident. The culprits were thugs who controlled the Sim Dong area, a gang called Hot Blooded Men. They were a new gang, gaining power by using girls to bribe police officers. Because of this, the police were reluctant to interfere. Soon after, the group was destroyed by someone ruthless. Their leader, Li Ho Chiol, was at a birthday party when it happened. The party included the 21 main members of the gang. Then, an intruder walked in. Every member was defeated by this one person, suffering severe injuries. The one responsible was a psychopathic 13-year-old boy. He had extreme arrogance and disgust in his eyes. That boy was Zhang Chan himself. At the time, it was hard to believe that a 13-year-old could defeat so many gang members that even the police couldn't handle. 21 people beaten by one person. Soon after, rumors of his cruel strength spread across Seoul. People who knew him created a fitting nickname, the Demon in Zhang Chan. And that same Zhang Chan is now terrified and powerless. He's being beaten badly, unable to fight back, and looks like a cripple. He thinks Doyle must have drugged him or something. He can't imagine being defeated by someone like Doyle. Zhang Chan tries to stab him, but Doyle easily dodges. Doyle flicks the blade back, trying to surprise him. Zhang Chan swings widely, but Doyle dodges again. This makes Zhang Chan even more upset. He tries many times, but Doyle just looks at him with a bored expression, as if to say, "Are you done yet, kid?" Doyle delivers a powerful uppercut to Zhang Chan's jaw. Zhang Chan saw it coming but still couldn't dodge. He stays standing, refusing to fall. He wipes off the blood, looking pale and sick. All he cares about is what Doyle did to him. He sees Doyle as a whiny loser who couldn't win in a fair fight. Doyle's previous attacks have damaged his ribs. Zhang Chan cries out in pain as he holds his sides. Doyle thinks of him as nothing more than a whiny brat, someone who just can't seem to shut up, handing him the same treatment he gave to others. Doyle blankly states, "It's not my fault that Young Chan is so weak. It's a simple fact he can't accept. And there's a reason for that. Young Chan has never been beaten enough to be humble, which is why I'm here to teach him a lesson, like a strict teacher disciplining his student." Zhang Chan's expression turns to terror, though he stupidly dashes in to attack anyway. Doyle casually dodges his punch with his signature speed, forcing Zhang Chan to go for a kick. Doyle ducks to his right, evading the attack. In response, he counters with a single left hook that his opponent can clearly see coming. And yet, for some reason, he still can't avoid it. Doyle knocks him back like a punching bag, eating extreme recoil. The blonde is questioning his existence. He compares the situation to being aimed at with a gun. Even though Young Chan knows the bullet is about to fire, he can't react to its incredible speed. Doyle bashes him with more and more of his godlike speed, doing a number on Zhang Chan, right until he staggers to maintain his footing. Pausing for a moment, Doyle impressively remarks that he is clearly facing someone stronger than the average person. Young Chan has been doing a good job of eating my punches so far. That may be true, but Young Chan's condition is all you need to know about his situation. He's like an injured dog that needs to be put down to stop his suffering. Of course, it's a good thing for Doyle, who is enjoying the experience. Gang Hyuk is baffled to the core, gripping his head in shock because this fight is practically happening over a lunchbox. Even Dongu is speechless, gesturing him. Doyle tells Zhang Chan to draw near, asking him, "What part of your body should I break? I'll take your words into consideration." Seeing him stand there in silence, Doyle's eyes sharpen with a gaze so terrifying that it makes Jong Chan quiver before him. He is forced to avert his eyes, unable to meet his ferocious opponent to the face. Since you're not making a choice, Doyle decides that it's time to take matters into his own hands. I figure it will be fun shattering your jaw. It's the same situation as last time. The bullet is about to be fired, and there is nothing Jong Chan can do to stop it. Doyle's godlike fist connects, the sensation coursing through as if he just vaporized Jong Chan's head off his shoulders. The delinquent cries in pain, screaming on his knees. Despite being as ruthless as he is, he had yet to meet a person as terrifying as Doyle. The moment he met his gaze, he could sense a creature far more cunning in Doyle's shadow. It was as if he wasn't even a human opponent, a living embodiment of fight perfection. His yapping went silent, with Doyle slamming a kick into his jaw, shattering the rest of his jawbone. The fight, or rather, the one-sided massacre, continued, with Doyle beating the crap out of the unconscious Jong Chan. At the hospital, the dean was enjoying his coffee with his wife, while the culprit responsible for stabbing him was getting the sonic rings beat out of him. By the time Doyle was finished, he was panting in exhaustion. With their top dog defeated, the fatty got his panties in a twist, unable to do anything before Doyle's gaze. The scene cuts to the Tiger Crew gang's hideout. Here, a ton of bodies lay defeated, with one man enjoying his noodles. Jikyal ended up meeting the leader of the Tiger Crew in person. Because he didn't like the way the negotiations turned out, he decided to cut their precious tendons for his amusement. Knowing that these guys were ready to cross him at any moment, he tortured their leader by poking his flesh with his chopsticks. Jikyal offered them 2 days to wrap up Busan's mess and then merge with his gang. Seeing as he didn't have any choice, their leader nodded in agreement. Jikyal stared him down, demanding his conviction. He was satisfied with the answer he received, so this freak show left with an ugly glare on his face. As he was leaving, Iljeong Hai's chief of operations, Hyuk Cheol, told his boss that he'd been getting a lot of calls. Taking the phone, Jikyal was startled when he heard a different voice on the other line. It was Doyle, and he meant business. Right as Jikyal opened the door, all he saw was a man standing before him with a phone next to his ear. Doyle pulled up to their turf. After all, they were seeking him in high demand. Also, he took the time to obliterate each one of Jikyal's men while he was at it. Adopting a nightmarish smile, Jikyal found himself more amused than ever. Sharing a meeting with the head principal of the school, one of the teachers questioned if it was really a good idea to let this incident slide. After all, this incident involved an outsider who assaulted multiple people. It was an incident that should be making the news for the safety of the children. In response, the selfish principal argued that it was the parents' fault for sending their children to a place like their school in the first place. Iljeong School is unlike a normal school. It's the one place where parents send their children because they've abandoned all hope for them. Even if they ended up having their lives fixed, it wouldn't amount to a difference. Nobody even cares about the value of Iljeong High. To avoid any further problems, the head principal didn't want to make a bigger mess out of it. A wimpy coward thinks that bystanders shouldn't get involved needlessly. Something more sinister is brewing behind the scenes. Let's go back to our boy, who is beating the crap out of the chief of operations. Hyuk Cheol tanks the heavy fall, rolling back and returning to check on his opponent. He could tell that Doyle just used a judo move. The fighter makes his descent and stands before Hyuk Cheol, who can't place a finger on what's this guy's deal. It's the same situation that occurred with Jong Chan. They can see his attacks coming, but they just don't possess the reflexes to avoid them. Now, Hyuk Cheol is a sensible fighter, and he clearly understands that he can't win in a direct competition. However, the moment he grabs a hold of Doyle's body, it's game over for the fight. Rushing into his emotions, Hyuk Cheol tries to do just that. His giant hand misses Doyle, so he uses his other arm to sling forth and grab him once more. Doyle goes for a retreat, easily dodging, and then surprising his opponent with a sudden duck. Doyle slams his face and abdomen with both of his kicks, sending him back. To make sure he stays down for good, he delivers a merciless punch to Hyuk Cheol's face, staring him down without a shred of interest. A few moments earlier, he had carried Donggu's flailing body. Donggu realized that the scar he received on his nose would stay for a while. And of course, he will be reminded of the scar every time he looks in a mirror. Doyle deems him annoying for asking such basic questions, but Donggu, he's conflicted. He's been a part of so many beatdowns without being able to do anything in return. He thinks it is unfair that he has to be left with scars across his body. Returning to the scene of the fight, Hyuk Cheol is busy collecting himself while Doyle slams his jaw with an upward knee kick. Facing such a cruel beatdown, Hyuk-cheol fails to comprehend what's going up in Doyle's mind, as he's not pulling the stops of any of his attacks. Each time he attacks, it feels as if he's aiming to kill his opponent. Hyuk-cheol has his own backstory. He was always lauded as a special person with a unique talent. At the time, Jikyol offered him a hand to become his right-hand man. Hyuk-cheol was deemed special by their leader, a man that couldn't be looked down upon, until he met Doyle. So he goes for a last-ditch effort to jab his opponent, being light on his feet, as always. Our boy dodges, fueling him with more frustration than ever. A few more attacks follow through, with Hyuk-cheol being the aggressor, doing whatever he can to psyche out his opponent, adding in feints to confuse him. His plan involves grabbing Doyle in a pinch, and right as he does that, only certain death is in store for Doyle with a slam to the ground. Or at least that is what his delusional mind thinks will happen, because Doyle casually stops the throw by locking his weight in place. The special move that Hyuk-cheol tried so hard to pull off failed spectacularly. A weight-shifting technique allowed Doyle to maintain his ground. This technique is only known to professionals, causing Hyuk-cheol even greater shock. And now, to deliver a beautiful suplex of his own, Doyle slams his back into the ground. This causes him a whirlwind of stinging pain. This guy bested him at his own game, annihilating Hyuk-cheol's technique. Even though there's a complete difference in weight, Doyle's mere existence defies reality. Regaining some of his consciousness and recovering from the attack, Hyuk-cheol sees a powerful kick flying his way. He is brought back to Donga's words. He followed up, promising Doyle as much money as he could ever ask for, so long as he could consider him his friend. Our boy tosses Hyuk-cheol's body away like a balloon, his face expressionless. Even now, as he towers over Hyuk-cheol's body, he is reminded of the moment he shared with Donggu. Doyle gets in trouble with a bunch of policemen seizing him on the spot. Remember the beatdown he gave to the other guys? Well, one of them ended up calling the police. They want to arrest him, when suddenly, one of the policemen gets their face bashed with a brick. It's Jikyol, and this guy is a menace for assaulting an officer. The guy tries to arrest the psychopath, but he quickly dismantles him like a force of nature. With both of them down for good, Jikyol collects himself, glancing at Doyle with excitement. He has achieved everything he ever wanted through violence. The gang leader believes it is the most convenient way of life. He just can't have other people stopping him when all he wants to do is have some fun. The leader of the gang even offers to become friends with Doyle, arguing that he could help cultivate our boy's ability for the better. What's more, the gang will enjoy their full support. The reason he mentioned the boss of the Japan Yakuza, Okita Group, is because violence easily exploits money. He extends his offer to Doyle, who cares little about entertaining him, and unleashes his full speed from the get-go. His fist vaporizes Jikyol's face with a single strike. Doyle drops a bombshell. He's the one who killed the Yakuza boss with his own hands. This guy is unstoppable at this rate. Circling back to the conversation regarding the head principal, he recalls sharing a drink with one of the congressmen. The head principal believes one of the students in their school is responsible for stealing critical information from the business clubs. As for the fight, you'd be surprised to find this out, but Jikyol actually blocked Doyle's attack in time. Carving a smile across his face, the leader of the gang realizes that Doyle doesn't want to entertain the offer. Doyle cusses him out for being an annoying parrot who keeps ranting the same thing to someone who isn't really a high school student. Like usual, we get a lore drop that I'm expecting to be more psychopathic than anything we've seen so far. A young Jikyol came to an understanding that murderers aren't bad for killing, as death was just a part of life. One of the most famous killers of all time, Albert Bundy, argued that he merely shifted his victim's time of death. Albert Bundy was responsible for murdering 30 women. This bastard, Jikyol, however, poured boiling water on an infant. Jikyol was basically an emo who took things too far at a young age, and instead of making it a phase, he made it his entire life. He thought murdering others was really cool, which perfectly describes his craziness. When he was probed for information for why he attempted to kill his brother, Jikyol responded that he was annoyed by Jiho's senseless whining. Despite warning the baby many times, the kid refused to listen to him. Hence, he was the one who was wrong and suffered for it. Now, Jikyol's situation was quite similar to the famous serial killer. He was punished for his crimes and inevitably had to pay the consequences of his actions. However, many people in the world operated freely without having to endure consequences. For example, Sakashi Bushino, an attack leader of Okida's group, the same man who was suspected of murdering 7 members of an enemy organization. In every trial, he was never found guilty. The young Jikial carefully observed how many political figures didn't receive the punishment he did. It was then that he made it his life's goal to acquire as much wealth and power as he possibly could, so that he could become immune to the consequences of suffering a punishment, so that he could determine the time of death for others, so that he could play God. Having matured, he returned to have a conversation with his infant brother, who had half of his face completely ruined thanks to his older brother's assault. Jikial reveals the real reason he tried killing his baby brother. It was because he did not want another version of him to exist out there. After all, it only made sense to him for one god to exist in this world. Now, standing before Doyle, the leader of the gang channels his philosophy. But Doyle doesn't care and goes for a sharp kick, which his opponent actually dodges. He goes on to catch each of Doyle's strikes, though Jikial didn't escape the encounter completely unscathed. Not at all. In fact, he received a wound to his head. Jikial was confused. How could his opponent move even faster than him? Doyle made it clear. He was just messing around with the bastard. But now, he wondered if Jikial was beyond ordinary. The boss admitted that Jikial surpassed many people in his life. He was the one who wiped the floor with Jongbyum. He left a trail of blood in his every walk. Yet, this was his first time meeting someone like Doyle, finding him intriguing. Jikial lunged at him full speed. He delivered a strike similar to Doyle's punches. Doyle was impressed that Jikial copied his attack, but it didn't matter. Doyle knocked him flying with another blow. Jikial stammered. More blood trickled down his face, but he showed no signs of defeat. He tried to swipe Doyle down. The attack was easily dodged, but then the next move even caused Doyle some trouble to evade. His opponent was overpowering him with every advance. Jikial ate a punch to the face, but he let it slip through, gaining the upper hand in their movement. Jikial tried to knee him in the face. Doyle ducked and analyzed the fight. The more the battle continued, his opponent became amplified. Jikial was a terrifying opponent to face. The gang leader chucked a powerful swing, rivaling Doyle's speed. Doyle thought it was remarkable to find a special talent like this guy lingering in a high school in Korea. Jikial went on the aggressive again. He ramped up his speed as if he was getting a constant boost. Still, his attack patterns were easy to counter. Doyle managed to evade each of his strikes. He knew that Jikial was preparing a real punch underneath the jabs he threw, but he called it a shallow approach. Jikial tried to shock Doyle with a left hook, surprising him greatly. The attack connected, slamming Doyle back. This gave Jikial the confidence to declare that he was simply an unstoppable being. He was destined to rise above everyone. Okay, I have to say this story loves to throw jump scares. Because of that attack just now, it seemed like Doyle caught it. He went on to insult Jikial's annoying bickering. Doyle humbled the bastard. He mentioned that while he may not be ordinary, he was still nothing more than a domestic dog with his own limitations. Hearing his infuriating words, Jikial's body erupted with fierce rage. In an instant, he experienced a sharp sensation coursing through the right side of his face. He couldn't comprehend what could have possibly happened. He didn't even sense his opponent move. Doyle looked like an avatar, a representation of death. A terrifying being has come to remind Jikial of his fickleness. Drowning in the void, Jikial realizes that he is meeting the same punishment as every killer is destined to meet. His body is obliterated with each of Doyle's attacks. While this is happening, Young-suk, who is ranked second in the 12-Nation gang, arrives to see what's going on as he hasn't heard a thing from Jikial. He remarks that getting involved with someone like Suk-dong is destined to lead people to a disaster. To their horror and astonishment, they discover the bodies of the policemen on the ground, and just beyond, Doyle towers over their boss, whose body has been crippled beyond repair. Young-suk is at a loss for words, unable to comprehend the scene before him, while Doyle casually glares at him with his cold eyes. Among the 11 nations, Nampa Orion's leader, Ju Haeong, is astonished by the scene. Jong-suk is horrified to see the remnants of the Tiger Crew gang, and now, seeing Jikial's state, it's safe to assume he endured permanent damage. Their leader, Haeong, was the one who intervened and stopped him. He's the one who reduced Jikial into a pathetic slime. But Young-suk is curious if letting the guy roam free was a good move. Being sensible, Haeong argues that they shouldn't rush into things without a plan. The scene cuts to the police station, where Park Chun-suk, a corrupt police officer, is being threatened with his information being hacked by a random app. They know about all the terrible crimes he let go of for the bribes he received, and each of them has evidence attached, too. The person threatening him wants to investigate a list, or else Chunsuk's life will be ruined for good. Now, back to Haeyoung. He remarks that Doyle isn't something to take lightly. From what he saw, it's clear that they'll end up running into him anyway if he keeps messing around with gangs. On a lighthearted note, Mina is celebrating the day, having made Doyle as their king and leader. Reports of him conquering Southern Seoul make the news. Anyone who commits a crime will be hunted by him. No longer will any thugs have a chance to bully any person in Simon. Mina thinks they're being redundant for handing out flyers in the age of social media, but when you really think about it, who's going to check the socials of a bunch of nerds in the anime club? The bullies are whining, having lost their jobs, which is hilarious if you think about it. Doyle can't be bothered and plugs his ears shut. On their way back, Donggu expresses that he added bonus money in Doyle's locker. Ever since his arrival, the students of the school have lived in peace. It's finally happening. The high school will no longer be a battleground. He would never have anticipated Doyle to end up annihilating the entirety of the Iljeong High gang. Bro even sent a photo of Jikyol all laid out on the ground. Donggu wonders if he photoshopped the image, but Doyle argues that it would have made the job way simpler and easier if he did do that. Donggu is so happy, admiring Doyle's powers, and promises to no longer be a nuisance to his sight. He wants to learn how to fight from the best, a request that Doyle meets with a confused look on his face. Even though they've taken care of the Iljeong gang, there's still a bunch of others to defeat. Among them is Sukdong of the Sukdong High. Their rank 5 delinquent is casually enjoying a chat, amused by the talks of a kid going around and defeating the 12 nations on his own. Knowing the monstrous strength of Jikyol, they don't want to believe that one kid managed to beat him with ease. Torturing Dong Hyuk, they ask for his opinion and slam him down. Suk Hyuk isn't letting him off easy and orders the kid to retrieve the ball. Dong Hyuk collects himself and quickly grabs the ball, returning it back to the delinquent. He's told to return to his shameful spot, made to shame him for being a dumbass. The delinquents continue to make fun of him, berating him for being a shit born out of his family. The boy goes silent, causing Sayok Hyuk to get angry. He still doesn't respond, so the fatty chucks the baseball right at his face. Dong Hyuk is defenseless, and he manages to duck, but the ball goes on to reach Doyle, who catches it with ease. They weren't expecting to run into such an encounter. Now, the real crime is Doyle losing a piece of his pork to stop the ball. The delinquents question their identities, but instead of words, our boy replies with his fists, knocking the teeth out of this fatty's mouth. The only chick of the group calls Doyle crazy, while he hands his lunchbox to Donggu. All of a sudden, the same chick finds him attractive. This man is getting all the hose wet wherever he goes. Suk Hyuk's underlings leap forward to deal with the handsome guy, questioning if the Simon High School student has gone crazy for waging war against them. In response, Doyle takes out his gun, points it at the baldy's head, and pulls the trigger, knocking him down. The scumbags can't believe what just happened. They can't fathom how he used an actual gun against someone in Korea. Blonde gets swept off his feet with a single kick, and then Doyle locks his head in his elbow, planting his face into the wall to further humiliate the clown. He shoots each of the rubber bullets against this guy's ass, giving him the most humiliating beatdown of the century. I would just move countries after that. Not going to lie. Doyle continued to stroll, facing 2 more NPC-looking characters. "I'm ready to take you all on at the same time for being annoying," he declared. You can only expect what happened afterwards. By the time he was done, the girl from their school was having her panties in a twist. Suk Hyuk had the balls to stand up against him, despite his broken teeth. "Are you an assassin from Iljeong sent to annihilate us?" he questioned. Doyle spared them no mercy, facing the clown, who roared, "I've been tasked to catch Jikyol." Doyle gave him a "who the fuck are you" look. Suk Hyuk stupidly rushed to attack the one guy who literally broke his teeth moments prior. Doyle even gave him a warning to look below, but that turned out to be a lie as he pulled a gun to his face. One headshot was all it took to launch the clown flying. Their next target was Sukdong High, as Doyle towered over the delinquent, who just couldn't fathom why he was attacking them. In response, this man uttered one word, "Pork." Then he pulled the trigger, kick-starting the extermination of Sukdong High. 2 whole months passed after the incident. The season was changing, and Jinju had quickly transitioned into becoming our boy's fangirl. Doyle reminded him, "Don't be so humiliating as a 20-year-old man." He had volunteered to become Doyle's right-hand man, following him wherever he went. Jinju argued, "Any strong person ends up becoming an older brother figure. For the longest time, I revered Jikiol as the tallest mountain peak, but now I learned that there exists an even bigger mountain beyond the likes of Jikiol. Of course, Doyle was strolling off in his thoughts, recalling that he had Janshan arrested, but for some reason, Jinju escaped without punishment. Turns out that Jinju only received a warning, as he wouldn't rat out any information. All this clown cared about was cooking muscles at the gym, so the police officer was helpless in that case. Jinju begged to be accepted as his assistant, vowing to serve him for the rest of his life. Doyle was getting annoyed, so he accepted. While this was happening, the horny Mina drew attention to her hot figure, but our boy was too much of a Sigma male to bat her an eye. Mina thought someone should wipe her sweat, and when Jinju offered to do it, she called him a pervert. Doyle was starting to amuse the possibility of killing these clowns and escaping Korea at this point. As for Donggu, he was receiving a punishment as an exercise. Poor guy didn't know if he was being pranked or trained. He wanted it, so he was getting forced to train his physical body, mostly his lower body, even though Doyle had yet to teach him a single technique. Our boy didn't care if he whined or complained. He was just handling things his own way. Later, Doyle demanded 6 million yuan for the eradication of Songdong High. The performance bonus is incredibly high, even though it should only be 1 million. Doyle argues that defeating Sukdong High will take far more effort than defeating the gang he just annihilated. He's done his research in advance. But Doyle breaks the fourth wall, arguing that enemies who appear later are always stronger, a rule in fiction. And when it comes to working with Donggu as an annoying teammate, things become even more difficult. Doyle agreed to train him to the point of death, so Donggu could have the chance to prove himself, and now is the time. He wants Donggu to defeat Park Kangwook as his first opponent. Right now, the strongest person at the school is Kangwook, since the other bullies transferred in fear. He wants Donggu to conquer Kangwook and take over the Simon territory for himself. Donggu doesn't understand how that would work, since Doyle is already the boss. But Doyle argues that his caliber is world-class and isn't restricted to a tiny high school. Donggu pictures himself being a mean boss, controlling the school. Doyle tells him that if he conquers the school, they can collectively demolish Sukdong within a single week. Back in class, the students are murmuring rumors of Donggu challenging Kangwook to a one-on-one battle. They wonder if Donggu's attitude has changed after encountering the transfer student, as he would have never done this in the past. The fight will happen in the auditorium, so the students rush to become members of the audience. The entire school has gathered, surrounding both fighters. Donggu is nervous as ever, while Kangwook is thinking he's being toyed with, like usual. The official battle between the two is about to begin. As for Doyle, he has quickly become the poster child responsible for slamming Jikiol to the ground. Every single eyewitness confirms this fact to be true, even though the footage of their fight was erased. They wonder what could have caused Jikiol to end up in a wheelchair and why he retired from operating his gang. Some even assume that the National Federation was responsible in stopping him. Still, it just doesn't add up how a bunch of weaklings from Simon High School could ever beat the psychopath to this degree. Regardless, there were scumbags ready to betray the 12 nations, acting as the weakest link. And this brooding meathead is here to take care of those rats. He confronts a group led by Sangsik, who betrayed their boss for his own business. Sangsik orders his men to attack him, but they all get knocked down one after the other, like flies. He even grabs one of them and slams a heavy knee to his face. The scene is brutal, as this guy isn't even pulling his punches, demolishing his victims. He dashes forth and takes care of the remaining vermin. Reaching for Sangsik, he grabs hold of a hammer, quivering right where he stands. Sangsik tries to strike him, only to get his face splattered by the full weight of the hammer. A brutal sound reverberates throughout the room. Sangsik was decimated for betraying the leader of Sukdong High. As for this behemoth, he's ranked second in the gang, known as Jang Chunsuk, who vows to squash Doyle in their eventual encounter. Back to the auditorium, the students are awaiting in anticipation. Doyle is casually enjoying the fight. Donggu's opponent has just knocked the daylights out of him. The underdog is down for the count. Despite taking the heavy hits, Donggu musters the courage to take a stand. His classmates are shocked, seeing him getting up after taking such a brutal punch in the face. His opponent was going heavy from the start and left nothing in the tank when it came to destroying him. And yet, Donggu's endurance shines as he still gets up, impressing his peers and adding worry for his opponent. Wiping off the blood from his face, the once cowardly nerd is now standing like a determined warrior, ready for round 2. His opponent's expression showed visible worry, so he tried diving in for another punch in an effort to knock Danga down for good. The powerful hook causes him to falter, but taking a hit like that was nothing new to the beating he received. In an effort to fight back, Dangu threw a punch, but it was a lousy attack, causing his opponent to retaliate with a heavy knee in his abdomen. Cursing the kid for being so pathetically weak, unable to catch a break from that previous attack, Dangu eats yet another heavy blow straight to his face. It sends thunder down his body as he crashes across the gym. The scene reminds his friend of a conversation he shared. Danga talked proudly about being coached by the best fighter he knew, though he had yet to figure out the goals of the ambiguous training Doyle had put him through. It was time to stop relying on Doyle, but his friend suggested that maybe depending on Doyle's strength was a good thing, because that man was born as the monster he was, and normal people like Dangu and him were just commoners. Recalling that conversation, blood trickles down onto the floor as his classmates start to question if Dangu has simply lost his mind for continuing this fight. They start to question if this is really the Dangu they've known all this time. A kid that refuses to stay on the ground, a kid who always gets back up despite the beating. Assuming a fighting stance, he puts his opponent under great turmoil. You see, this is the same boy who can't even throw a proper punch, and yet he's got the eyes of a determined warrior, ready to face any obstacle in his path. The scene reminds his opponent of the exact same situation with Johnshan. Without Doyle's help, the kid is worthless on his own, and yet, he showed Johnshan a glare of determination. The only logical conclusion is that he must have been acting brave, delusionally thinking that it would help salvage his situation, or so his opponent believes. This time, he is resolute in putting Danga down for good. So, he lunges forth with incredible speed, aiming to knock his opponent unconscious. This heavy, speedy lunge resulted in a powerful fist hurled against Danga's face. Dangu tried to return the blow, but in vain. Dangu ended up eating a kick in the face, making me think his favorite meal is getting beat up. That devious kick causes his classmates to worry for him, as it sends him flying, knocking him down again. Seeing the fight unfold, Doyle's reactions show no signs of worry or concern. It's almost as if he doesn't care about the outcome of this fight. Moments afterwards, Dangu's head was repeatedly bashed to remind him of his position on the ground. His opponent hurled and roared at him to stay down, cursing his lungs out. Completely deprived of his strength, the man stares down at Dangu's beat-up body, treating him as an annoying cockroach who doesn't know his own place. The fight seems to be over as his opponent angrily draws away, shoving past anyone who comes near him. Continuing the conversation between Dangu and his friend, he came to a pause and agreed that Doyle and them were too different. He can never hope to become a monster like Doyle, but that's not what he's after anyway. A loud roar erupts in the gymnasium. Dangu questions where his opponent is running off to when the fight isn't even over yet. It causes Kangwook to stop dead in his tracks, like someone just asked him English or Spanish or something. As Kangwook turns around, his expression turns to shit, looking like he just saw a ghost. He grits his teeth, quenching his anger, bolting right at his opponent with another strike, calling Dangu a zombie. He throws a full swing jab right in Dong's face, the kind of attack that should basically rob you of your motivation to continue the fight. Still faced with so much pain, Dangu smiles instead of despairing at the situation. Kangwook thinks the kid has lost it, even though the attack fully connected, so there's no chance it wouldn't have inflicted pain. Retaliating sharply, Dangu goes on the offensive, causing Kangwook to panic as he evades with caution. The scene shifts to a conversation he had with his teacher, Doyle. Doyle questioned how he would beat an opponent like Kangwook. Then, Doyle gave him a simple hint. He would definitely beat Kangwook, meaning he would eventually win. The fight continued on, and that's exactly what's happening now. Even though Kangwook lands a heavy blow to his abdomen, Dangu shows a fierce expression. This boy has truly changed. Kangwook is stunned that someone is reacting like this to his attacks. Back in their conversation, Doyle explained his reasoning. He mentioned that a typical fight doesn't last longer than 3 minutes. Beyond that, it requires sheer willpower. Since there isn't a significant weight difference between Kangwook and Dangu, the only determining factor would be willpower. That has been the purpose of Dangu's training all along. Kangwook doesn't expect anything like this. This means Dangu's chances of victory would skyrocket once he passed 3 minutes. Sure enough, the first hit connects. Dangu finally lands a powerful jab on Kangwook, causing him to stagger. Exhaustion eats at his legs thanks to his foolish temper tantrum. He wasted too much energy in this fight. This greatly hurt his speed, allowing Donggu to launch a second attack, a painful knee to the face. Kangwook drops to one knee, practically defenseless. Donggu unleashes a flurry of powerful fists, hitting Kangwook's body as if he were punching back. Donggu finishes with a powerful uppercut to Kangwook's chin. The battle looks winnable thanks to the endurance built over months of training. But don't be fooled. The fight isn't over yet. Donggu is struck by Kangwook's strong fist when he least expects it. Returning to Doyle's conversation, he mentioned that their strategy would be to utilize willpower paired with immense physical strength. Kangwook goes on the offensive, but the fight feels even as Donggu returns each attack. Both of them are taking hits and promptly returning them, jolting each other's bodies from the pain of every strike. Doyle left him with simple advice that everyone can follow. He told him that when he feels most vulnerable, he should push his body to try just one more time. Donggu channels that advice into his core as he races forward, recalling each time he was brutally beaten up by his bullies. He recalls how Kangwook made a fool of him on every occasion, his goons toying with him. Each of those moments becomes ammunition for him, a reason to beat the daylights out of this piece of shit. Donggu's eyes are filled with a new flame of determination, a will to fight. He commands his body forward, greatly shocking his friends by his performance. It is then he remembers Donggu's words from the end of their conversation, who concluded that he was fine being himself and didn't want to become someone like Doyle. Each student widens their eyes in shock, while Doyle is mogging them all, looking unfazed at the outcome of the fight. Donggu's apocalyptic uppercut just now was him pouring beyond his 100%. At last, the fight is over, the battle won. Kangwook is on the ground, while Donggu maintains his stand. His friends come rushing to celebrate the big win, embracing him with love. Donggu is no longer the weak, pathetic underdog anymore. He's the new boss of his high school, and rightfully so. Over to the Russian branch of the Blackhead organization. A secretary has sent all the necessary details to their secret messenger, focusing back to the scene of the school. Doyle communicates with someone using wireless headphones, surprising Donggu immensely. He's also confused about who Doyle is on the phone with, or where they're even headed. That's all for today. For the next part, make sure to subscribe my channel Fire Recap. And you don't forget to share and like the video. I am out.